So today I am going to be making a candle, soya wax, and it's in one of the candle holders that I've made as normal. I call it my bathtub mold because it looks quite like a bathtub to me. In this one, I'm going to be adding a little bit of coconut oil to the soy wax. So I do take off the ratio of how much soy wax and the coconut oil I use. So my ratios change slightly from when I only use soy wax and fragrance. So I'm trying this out. It is winter now, so it does potentially increase the shelf life and it softens the wax a bit during the cooler months. So it does help, and it also enhances the scent throw. So the fragrance will be more potent, hopefully, than if I just use the soya wax. So what I'm going to do in this one now, I'm doing a dual color. So I'm going to be doing the blue and the yellow together, and I will pour them at the same time so that they blend in but still have their own sort of sides to the actual candle holder. At the moment here I'm just putting my wicks in, and like I have mentioned before, my wick holders, the little sticky tabs, they're actually for the bigger bases of the wick holders. So I cut them into quarters and I use a quarter on each of my smaller wicks. In this one I'm going to be doing 3 wicks. That's just so that it hopefully will burn nice and evenly the whole actual candle. Yeah, so basically now I am just going to be measuring out the middle, because obviously you want one in the middle and one on either side so that your wicks are hopefully evenly spaced apart. I am going to be checking where my wicks go because I am going to put that design in the middle. So I'm got to make sure that it's going to fit in the middle of the candle once I decorate it. So now I'm just waiting for the wax to melt. Using 2 separate containers to melt the wax, obviously one for the green and one for the yellow. Yeah, so the fragrance I'm using here is pine needle. I thought it would go nicely with the color of the actual candle holder, and I just use normal coconut oil that I buy at the supermarket. It's nothing fancy, and basically, like I said earlier on, the ratio that I work out are minused from the amount of wax that I put into the containers, because obviously otherwise your ratio is going to be out when you pour it, because even though it's quite a large container, so it wouldn't really make that much difference, but when I'm doing my small containers, it makes quite a big difference if you're adding another whole tablespoon or teaspoon to a tiny little jar, because then you're going to end up wasting wax every time you pour them. And my measurements that I have written out, they are exactly the right amount to pour into each container. I thought I'd also put some mica powder into this so that it gives a nice, almost like lifelike look when it's burning, because the mica powder seems to move when the wax is melting. So I thought that would be quite a nice thing to do. I decided to use my dual thermometers because doing 2 containers, you need them obviously when you're pouring, or actually first when you're adding your fragrance. They have to be the right temperature, and then they have to both be the right temperature when you are pouring them, because obviously you're pouring them at the same time. So you have to make sure that they're both the same temperature when you're pouring. So that's why I'm using my dual thermometers here. Obviously waiting to get to the heat that I need to add the fragrance. Here I'm just adding the coloring and the mica powder to the green. Was it green or blue? Sorry, I think I'm getting myself confused. I think it was blue, not green, or other way. I'm not starting to do another voiceover, so please excuse me if I've got the wrong color, but I think it's blue. Yeah, it is blue. It's going to be blue and yellow, not green and yellow. And then here I'm adding the fragrance to the blue in my syringe. And like I've said before, normal story, give it a good stir so that the fragrance gets incorporated into the wax nicely. Yeah, I'm just measuring this one out for the yellow, but I think the yellow was not at the right temperature then and there, so I had to just wait for it to get to the right temperature. So we will just add the coloring for now and the mica powder and give that little stir. The mica powder always gives it such a lovely look when it's burning. It really does. Okay, so obviously once it gets to the temperature where you add your fragrance, you can remove it from the heat, because you obviously then have to wait for it to cool down to your pouring temperature. Just adding the fragrance to the yellow one now, because they're obviously both the same, but you need to take them out at the same time, so hopefully they cool down at the same time. I'm not sure if you can see the thermometer register, to see that they roughly were about the same temperature, give or take a degree or so, and then try and pour them evenly at the same time so that you get them as close as possible to the middle meeting, and then obviously they've swirled into each other, which actually looks really good. And then I'll put my wick holders, which I have mentioned before, that I'll make on my 3D printer, and it just holds them in place so that as the candle cools down they don't move around. So there we go, and just checking again whether my centerpiece will fit, and it will. And you can see the mica powder gives it such a beautiful look to the candle. This is obviously still has to dry, but once it starts burning you will actually see it's almost gives it a glass effect. Right, and then again just doing the decorations, undo the flower, and then I'm alternating the colors so that I can do yellow and blue alternating. So what I'll do is I'll just let this run for now while I'm decorating it, and then I will come back and chat again once I have done all the decorations. Right, so the candle is cool and it is really does look pretty with the way the colors have joined together. Right, so I decided to use the yellow outer with the little blue roses in between for the centerpiece, and I melted some wax and I'm just placing the centerpiece in the middle, and then I'm going to put an alternate flower on either side, again using the melted wax and my trusty eyedropper. Always got to make sure if you do anything at an angle like that, that you get enough wax underneath it. Sometimes you have to reposition them because it's sitting on the wreath, it doesn't always sit on the melted wax. So sometimes you have to reposition them, but it just takes a little bit of, there you go, you see I had to just put a bit more wax underneath just to make sure that it isn't moving. And then I did do quite a lot of different flowers and that sort of thing because I wasn't quite sure exactly what I wanted to do. And like you'll see, I didn't use half of what I did, but I have got boxes of flowers and leaves and wreaths and all those sort of things that whatever I don't use, I just keep for when I want to use them for something else. And then this one, I just made a hole in the middle of the flower so that I can slip it down through the wick so it can be in the center of the wreath. There was a little bit of melted bits that ended up in the middle of the flower, so I just had to get my tweezers and just take them off because you don't want little bits of melted wax lying anywhere. So once that was off, it looked really pretty. And then basically the only next thing that I did was add another 2 leaves on either side. I didn't want it to be too busy because I also didn't want to take away from the pretty swirl of the 2 colors. So there we go. We're just about to add the last leaf. And there we go. That's basically it. I think it did come out nicely. I'll leave it for a week or two just to let it settle properly, and then I'll burn it to make sure that it's burning nicely with 3, just to see whether I need to do 4. But there we go. I think it looks really pretty. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. And if you could like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. So guys, until next time, have a great one.